We're live.
We are. Excellent. We did it.
Yeah, let's refresh on your page and see if we're live there.
Oh, shoot. Are you there?
Yes.
Oh. I clicked out of you accidentally. Okay, great. Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for your patience. I had some technical difficulties there, but welcome. Whether you are catching this live or on the replay, I'm just so glad that you're joining us. This is week 1 in our new Empowering Women series. We all come from a large variety of beliefs and backgrounds in this group, but one thing that we can all agree on is that coming into our own as women is an empowering and life-affirming thing. I am incredibly honored to have as my first guest today, Susan Harrow. Susan is a top media coach, martial artist, PR expert, author of the best-selling book, Sell Yourself Without Selling Your Soul, HarperCollins. For over 30 years, she's trained thousands of people in verbal and nonverbal communication. She's the creator of a course called True Shield, Verbal Self-Defense for Girls, and she's working on a course just for women as well. I'm looking forward to that. What you might not know about her is that she's a black belt in Aikido, Japanese martial arts, and was almost sold into slavery to a Bedouin sheik for 10 camels and a mule. Wow. We're here today to talk about how you can use easy verbal self-defense techniques, and physical ones too, for common situations that put women into fight, flight, or freeze. Welcome, Susan. I am so excited to have you here with us in Armed and Beautiful.
Thank you. And I see Nancy Jutton. I wanted to say hi. Thank you for supporting us, Nancy. She's such a wonderful cheerleader. And we all need cheerleaders in our lives in every aspect. And Nancy is a fabulous one for so many people. So thank you for being here on my second Be Live, Facebook Live thing. So
yes, thank you, Nancy. So Susan, I first discovered you and your work as I was learning about PR and wanting to get more visible. And then I noticed your course, True Shield. And I just got so excited to have found a like-hearted friend working towards empowering girls and strengthening their ability to protect themselves. Would you share a little bit about how mindset and awareness plays into self-defense?
Yeah, I think mindset is so important first. I love what Albert Einstein said, which was, do you believe that this is a friendly universe? And I think if we start from that premise, because it's what we're putting out there, we're also attracting in. And while this can be a dangerous world in so many ways, like what we're experiencing now, if we're always focused on the danger and not focused on the safety or focused on the aspects that we do have control over, it shifts our perspective. So I think that first perspective is about what is your mindset? How do you believe? What do you believe about the world? And then how do you move through the world? Because when we're in the realm of self-defense, whether it's verbal or physical, what happens is that someone who is searching for a victim can pick up on you just like that. We actually get you in 1/4 of a second. So they are experts in seeking you out. And one of the things that I remember Gavin DeBecker, who's a safety expert, who's been doing this for many, many years, who was on Oprah, who's got a lot of fabulous books out, said, listen, if something happens to you, you need to go with your first response. Boom, boom, boom. If you're already in thinking mode versus in responding rather than responding mode, you've missed an opportunity and you have maybe missed the opportunity. Now, that's not to say that there are not going to be opportunities where you need to really think and strategize, but we're talking about when something happens quickly where you need to respond. It's about starting to get into mental and muscle memory, how you're going to respond. And I know we're going to talk about that a little bit more because it's so important in practice. But I wanted to just talk about our mindset first and really the way that we carry ourselves, our presence, our experience. And I wondered if we could even do something, together just to experience that, just in terms of our own body language. Because if you just curl your shoulders in and do this together, How do you feel? Slumped over. So if you're a slumper, if you're a slumper, somebody's going to think, well, she has low self-esteem. She could be an easy pick, right?
Mm-hmm.
Versus if you're sitting up straight, you just put your shoulders back, you breathe, right? And think about in yoga, they're always talking about having a string at the top of your head, like all the way up. I like to think of it all the way up to the heavens. Like if you're thinking, I'm connected to heaven and I'm connected to earth, and there's a whole maybe beam of light grounding you.
I love that visual.
What's that?
I love that visual.
Yeah, and all of us can do that. It doesn't matter what your history is right now, or if you're a slumper, it doesn't matter. You can start to train your body and train your mind. Oh, I'm slumping again. Oh, put my shoulders back, sit up straight, beam of light. That's a practice, just like anything else. And there's a lot of research showing, like if we start to change our shape, meaning I don't mean weight-wise or anything like that, but if we change our shape, meaning how we hold ourselves, that begins to change our destiny. So all of us can do that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was actually recording a video earlier, and I was talking about when you're out in public, holding yourself tall. And even if you're having the worst day and you really just want to do this, just train yourself not to. What you're projecting on the outside really does matter as far as being a target or not.
And the other thing I want to say about that, just in general, because this is something that you might not think about, but I remember at one point I lived in Oakland and we were driving through a really dangerous area, and there was this guy in a hoodie and he looked really scary. And I don't know if he had a gun. We were in a car, but we were stopped, and it was very desolate. And what I said to I think I was with my sweetie driving, I said, do not look at him. Because when you're looking, I'm like, oh my God, super scary guy in a hoodie, like coming toward us. Do not look at him. Focus our energy where we want to go. I'm like, we need to get ready. As soon as that turns green, we are going. And if it's not turning green and he's getting too close, you're going through.
Go anyways. Yeah.
Go anyway. But it was like, do not focus the energy, because then you're connected.
Oh, interesting.
So there's a point where you don't want connection. And then there's a point also, if there's danger, where you actually want connection. And that can be something even as subtle as if you think somebody's following you, you can use several strategies. One, you can cross the street and see if they follow you too, because maybe that's not true. But the other thing is you can turn around directly and say, I see you. I know what you're doing. Yeah. And that kind of energy is like, wait a minute, maybe she's not going to be so easy now. Right. So there's not one right way ever to handle anything. Those are a couple of different ways. I mean, obviously, the best thing to do is get to a place of safety if you're being followed or something's happening. But know that you can just look at and address someone directly. That's the more fierce approach, or pointing and I see you, get away from me. That's more direct. Versus if somebody's like maybe too close to you at a stoplight, you go, hey, what time is it? It's a pattern break. They may be focused on you. You go, excuse me, what time is it? So different tones, different, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Something.
It's almost like you humanize that situation. Yeah.
Right. So it can be anything. It's just to snap somebody out of if they're like zooming in on you. So those are a couple of things that all of us can start to employ at any moment. Right.
I really like those. Those are good. And it's so true that there's not a cookie cutter answer to self-protection at all, that we need to know enough that we can adapt to the situation that we find ourselves in. So, so one of the things that, we're all so busy nowadays, now a little less with the quarantine, of course, but overall we're busy people, and we're going, and you kind of have already addressed this, but is that presence really important, what we're projecting on the outside? I mean, if I really need to look at my phone while I'm walking through a parking lot, is that really such a bad idea?
Yes, it's a bad idea.
Okay.
Because an easy target is somebody who's not paying attention. Now, if you're at your listen, if you're at your like local neighborhood store with lots of people and kids around, of course you can look at your phone. But let's look at a situation where it's dark, you don't know the area. No, if you're walking to your car, you should have your keys out and ready, or your pepper spray out and ready if you feel threatened in any way. I mean, obviously, but you want to be alert, just looking in all directions. In Aikido, we have what's called, and I'm doing this now at the little dot, it's called broad perspective. I'm not looking at any one person. I'm looking out at the sphere to see if there's anything out there that could be in my realm of somebody coming in. So when you're going to your car, you know, you do want to be paying attention. No, you don't want to be looking at your phone, and you don't want to be listening to your iPhone. I know I saw this video, and I'm with you on this. Like, this woman was like, oh, I can only listen in one ear because I have to have the other ear always on alert. So I'm not even allowed to space out when I walk, right? And, you know, there's wisdom in that. If you're like hiking in the woods, absolutely. I mean, I don't even think you should put one thing in your ear, right? But like in your neighborhood, like when I walk in my neighborhood, sometimes I listen to podcasts, sometimes I talk to friends, I have my earphones in because I am in a safe area. And if something happened to me, I would be able to see it in my realm, even if I'm on my phone. You know what I'm saying? So I'm
you're still really aware. Yeah.
But, you know, to be alone and listening to your earphones on your way to your car at night, common sense says not a good idea. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
So it's that awareness.
Right. Yeah. So when we were chatting the other day, you mentioned a time that when you had been attacked in Paris, and that you were really, I think you kind of described it as taken aback by your own reaction. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah. And I just want to say I have escaped rape 7 times in many different ways. So I know I'm one of the lucky ones, and it was luck, because I didn't have any experience at that time. I just had my own sort of creative savviness, because it really was 7 different situations and I escaped 7 different ways. So this one time I was in Paris, and I had just watched a Pasolini movie, which is a little bit weird, and there was this kind of a weird sex scene. This really handsome guy came out of the theater. He was very well dressed. He was super handsome. He was French, you know, he was very French and very gorgeous and very well appointed, you know, and he's like, would you like me to show you these beautiful Paris gardens? They are hidden. And me, you know, I was 22, and I'm like, yeah, love to see those hidden gardens in Paris. And so he took me to some gardens. You had to enter apartments, and then they opened up to these amazing gardens, really beautiful. And then at one garden, suddenly he slammed me up against the wall and started kissing me. And I started laughing. And I said to him, I'm not laughing because I think this is funny. I'm laughing because I'm uncomfortable. And then all of the thoughts that went through my mind. So this is happening. I'm like, I shouldn't scream because I'm an American. They're going to think, oh, stupid American girl. And number 2, I didn't have my papers yet. I was waiting on my papers. So I'm illegal. I'm an illegal American. So all of this probably ran through in like a second. Don't mean I'm the American, you know, and all this time. And he's just kissing me. And he's French. And so I was struggling at this point, and it wasn't until he had my underpants around my ankles that I thought, he's going to rape me. And I took my fist and slammed it in his face and ran. And then I thought, you know, what I told you, Kate, is like, I was a jock. I was a teaching tennis pro. I was captain of my volleyball team. That had nothing to do with it, because I was never trained to hit anybody. I had never hit anybody in my life, ever, in the face. So to expect me to suddenly be able to hit someone is kind of unrealistic. So as soon as I came back to San Francisco, I took model mugging, and I learned what it felt like, and I learned how to hit.
Nice.
Yeah. And so what I recommend to everyone, like we're talking about verbal self-defense, but I do recommend that everybody take a physical self-defense class. Now, the reason why I like to start with verbal self-defense is because we can prevent a physical attack. But sometimes there's a surprise attack. Now that was a surprise in some way, but what I'm talking about is it can't, no matter how much you have physical stature or how much, it doesn't, you're not immune to being in an uncomfortable situation ever, right? No matter what.
Absolutely.
So I think learning verbal techniques. So one that everybody can do that's super useful is stop right there. So you're using your hand, you're using your eyes. You probably noticed my eyes just automatically got a little more intense, so you can really focus there, like stop right there, right? So they automatically get a little bigger. My voice gets louder. It's the intensity of you driving your energy out to them and sort of shoving them back. And you will notice when this happens that sometimes people actually leap back. They leap.
Wow. Interesting.
Yes.
And that's one that we could easily teach like young girls.
Sure. I mean, everybody should know that one.
Anybody can do that. Yeah.
And you can use it in varying degrees, like we say. If it's just some guy and he's running toward you, stop. You can do it. You can do it in a playful way, but just having a stop sign and having your arm extended, that means nobody's going to come that much closer to you, right? Because you've already got your distance out. And that's where you're wanting to see something coming as well. Like if somebody's already this close, that's too close, right? You want to stop that for somebody who's, before it ever happens or as somebody's starting to move toward you. So that's one that anybody can use in any situation. I even recommend that in a meeting when somebody's speaking over you. You probably wouldn't say stop right there. What I'd say maybe is wait, I'm not done. And sometimes do it a little bit stronger. Wait, and then you continue on. So the main thing about that is to continue on what you were saying. So the wait might be a little bit louder and a little bit sharper. And then you can actually lower your voice or speak in a normal tone after that. But what you want is the pattern interrupt of stopping someone from interrupting you or stopping someone from trying to smite you or whatever that is. You can do that. I mean, girls sometimes even do that with each other. When I was training the first pilot of the verbal self-defense for girls, they would just go, wait, shh, 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 shh. So they would just go, wait. So it was like a softer wait. Right?
Yeah. That's a great.
No, I'm not finished. Right. So there's all different varying degrees of that, depending on the status, the power, the relationship. So I think that it's really nice to see the range of all of those things, like from soft to, to quote unquote hard, right?
Right. And learning that assertiveness is so important because those of us that it just doesn't come naturally to, like getting from being able to say wait to hitting somebody, that's a pretty big leap. And if we don't start with this kind of assertiveness, then it's going to be much harder to actually choose to try to defend ourselves. I believe that assertiveness is a great place to start.
It is a great place. So I really recommend you role play with a friend. One person play the aggressor, one person, and start to just get used to it because you want to get it into mental and muscle memory. It's not enough to think about it because what you're thinking about doesn't mean that's how you act. You want to know what your default is under pressure, and you want to start just noticing that, like, oh, under pressure, if somebody comes at me, like, I shrink. Oh, okay. So I noticed that. So maybe next time somebody comes at me, I just shrink a little bit less. And then eventually I don't shrink at all. Nice. But it's through that practice.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's really true. Those are some really good ideas there. So you had also mentioned a really, what I thought, fantastic tip for as far as like safety when somebody like a delivery man comes to your door, and you gave a really fun idea for being safe in opening the door to a flower delivery man. Do you mind sharing that one?
Yeah, that came about because, again, I was living in Oakland and there was a rapist who got into women's homes by delivering flowers. And what woman is not going to open the door to a man delivering flowers?
Yeah.
And so and it was it wasn't in our neighborhood, but it was in it was something that we were all aware of. So I came up with the idea to ask who sent the flowers. So they would have to read the card. So when anybody comes to Eva, our house now, I always they say flowers, and I say, oh, who are they from? And I wait until they open that envelope to say, because if it were someone who were trying to get in, they wouldn't wait around. They wouldn't try to fake it, right? And I learned this because I learned this actually from a cop. I don't think I told you this part, Kate, but as it's coming to me now, there was a guy who was in our backyard, like half naked. And I remember yelling at him, like, what are you doing in our yard? And then the policeman like lumbered over our wood pile chasing this guy. And later when I talked to the policeman, I said, how did you know? So he was trying to rob somebody's house around the corner. Okay. And I said, how did you know that he was a robber, other than he didn't have a shirt? I mean, he was very buff. And the policeman said the guy was on somebody's doorstep, and he thought he looked suspicious, and he said to him, what are you doing? And he said, I'm visiting my uncle. And the policeman said, what's your uncle's address?
And he didn't know.
He didn't know because he was at this house sort of randomly, but he didn't know the address of it, and he ran. And I thought so to broaden this out, ask a specific question that a person would need to know in that situation. So you can broaden this out to anyway. And I thought that's how I got the idea about the flowers. So ask who they're from. So I just took that and, sort of reverse engineered a different situation.
Yeah, you're right. You could problem solve that to a lot of different situations.
A lot of different situations.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, somebody walks up to you and says, I'm your mama's friend, and you go, where's my mama work?
Yeah.
Right.
What's my mama's name?
Whatever.
Yeah, right.
The question is, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in addition to the stop, what other kind of practical, physical things like that can you share with us?
Yeah, I wanted to share this one because anybody can do it because it's so common. When somebody grabs you on the wrist, so typically people are going to grab you on the wrist, and try to get my hand in focus here. So it's like, this is like
the mirror thing is so hard.
Okay, so the weakest part of my hand, the weakest part of anybody's hand is at the joint here. So what I want to do is, let's see if I can do it this way, is I want to just turn my hand up like this and snap out of the weakest part of the hand. So it's where there's a break in the hand is where you can flip it's not so easy to do on video like this. So they're grabbing, and what you want to do is my hand is weakest here.
Okay.
So it's about getting out like that. So you can actually grab onto your hand with your other hand and pull it. So anybody, even no matter how tight they hold you, you can still snap it out.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Because it's just Aikido is all based on our body's like technology. It's just about angles and weakness. So another thing that you can do if somebody's choking you is this is the weakest point. Most people are like, and they just let that. No, and they're pulling like around here. No, that's strong. The weakest point is your pinky finger. Nobody can hold on, strangling you if you pull on your pinky finger because it hurts like heck, even though it's the tiniest finger. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's so simple, but powerful.
Mm-hmm.
My goodness. Wow. So share a little bit more about Aikido, and would you recommend that like as a starting place for self-defense, and how long would you say like somebody would need to be involved to become proficient?
Yeah, I love Aikido, but it is not the best martial art for self-defense because you don't hit or kick in Aikido. And I think for self-defense, where you need to learn to gouge somebody's eyes out and pull their ear and do a tiger strike to their throat, these are things that you learn in a self-defense class. Hit them up the nose. We don't do any of that in Aikido. Aikido really is about learning the angles and the rhythm and the way that the body works. It takes a long time to master. So I do think I love the idea of women beginning in Aikido as little young girls. I started at 52. I started at 52. So that's very old. So, I mean, I would have loved to have started when I was 4 because I would be a fearless girl, you know.
Yeah.
And so all of you mothers out there, start your child in, like, Taekwondo is not that useful either. I know a lot of people do Taekwondo because it's like the high kicks, but Aikido is extremely useful if you've started at a very young age. I know karate is a little more, karate's, I think any martial art is really fabulous. If you are inclined and you're drawn to whatever one is possible. I love the beauty of Aikido and the sort of science of it. And because the reason why I love it for women is because it doesn't matter how small or weak you are. Anyone can do Aikido because it is based on the science of the body. It is based on being able to use the opponent's energy and use their own force and go with that. So it's not your own force, it's their force. So if somebody's coming at you to throw you, instead of blocking it, we go with it. So they're already going in this direction. We just help them along.
Okay.
We help them along. And I love Aikido for everything in terms of the basis of Aikido is it's the art of love and kindness, and it's about polishing your spirit. So you're not competing with anyone. What you're doing is turning your own lead into gold. So it's really about self-mastery. So it's about learning these techniques so you understand the mind of another, and that therefore there's no separation between your mind and their mind. So you would always know what to do and how to move the other person to be able to throw them or pin them. And in Aikido, the one difference between us and martial arts is, like, if we threw somebody, we wouldn't run after them and try to pummel them. We would run. We would throw them and go, or pin them and get help. So we're not the aggressor. We would be the one to, And so I love that. But it is, it is a martial art, and it is a very strong martial art, so. Anyway, so I love it.
Okay. Well, that's inspiring. Boy, it makes me want to look up and see if it's around here at all.
Yeah.
That is really neat. So, but then if you're just somebody who just wants to get some physical self-defense understanding and moves, then you would recommend like taking more like a workshop specifically for self-defense. Okay.
I would. Even if it's a couple hours or it's a weekend workshop, I would highly recommend that. So you get the real basics of what you could do, learn how to hit and kick and shout. Get some practice with that sort of thing in my memory, muscle memory. I really like that. I a lot of times people are I sell the self-defense tools and like pepper sprays and stun guns, and they can get a bad rap because if you don't have it in your hand, it's going to be very hard to use it. And so that muscle memory is something that I really try to teach my clients you have to be comfortable with it. It has to be something that just feels normal in your hand. And you have to have done the muscle and mind practice of how would you use it, and when women tell me, oh, I own a pepper spray, where is it? The bottom of my purse. It's like, that's wasted. It's wasted money, wasted time. It does no good whatsoever. So you have a really great pepper spray. I know you wanted to, because I was really fascinated by that. You do have to have it at the ready, like when you were talking about when you leave a parking lot. If you're leaving someplace late at night, you would have the pepper spray in your hand. You wouldn't have it in your purse. You'd actually have it in your hand. Tell us about the one that you have, because I thought it had some really unique features that could be really helpful to people who like, oh, I want something right now. Yes, I'm going to take a self-defense class or a verbal self-defense class, but I need that pepper spray now.
Right. So the pepper spray that is my favorite is called the Protected Pepper with Shield technology, and it actually has a GPS in it. So, and then it's hooked with an app. and you put in your up to 5 contacts. So when my daughter was going to school in San Diego and I'm in Northern California, you know, her dad and me and some local friends were her contacts in there. And if she was to deploy her pepper spray, we would get you know, notifications that Delaney deployed her pepper spray and this is her exact location. And those notifications will keep coming every 2 minutes until she marks herself safe, and it will keep updating her location, which is just for a mom with a kid at college. It just gives me peace of mind knowing that she has that. And, you know, she knows to have it in her hand. She knows it does her no good if she doesn't have it, you know, that sort of thing. So I love that. And it also has a silent panic button, which sends the notification also that she deployed her panic button. And so this way I can call law enforcement for her and say, you know, 4 minutes ago, she deployed her pepper spray. This is her exact location. And it's a really wonderful tool, which I think all the personal protection tools are amazing. In that you can learn them fast, but you do have to do many of the things that Susan's talking to us about, which is the muscle memory. And, you know, I like to have my clients rehearse various scenarios in their mind. And what would you do in this situation? And so having layered protection
in the mind is great, but I think you actually have to physically do it. You know, so you really need to physically do it to get it into the mental and muscle memory. So you really do need to walk to the parking lot and pretend you're doing the pepper spray and just really go through the whole scenario. You know, I think that's really super important. So thanks for sharing that. I think that's a great start, you know, to have that, and especially for moms, for their daughters to feel you know, to feel safe and to feel like their daughter has some kind of protection going on.
Exactly. Spouses really like it too, knowing that their spouse has something like that.
Sometimes the fathers are more protective than the mothers, I think.
Yes,
their daughters, which could be a pain on one hand.
But it's really empowering for the daughter to be able to say, Dad, you know, I've got this, and I took my self-defense class, and, you know, because then they own it and they know that they have a plan too. Yeah, which I love that. Yeah,
I would love to have any questions if anybody has. I see there's an anonymous Facebook user or somebody there without a picture who.
What I discovered here is that, and we're not seeing everybody. I don't think because I don't think we're seeing everybody because of the Be Live app. So let me pop into the group. I guess it's one of those ones where they have to give permission for Be Live to see their names, which I didn't realize before I chose that. So let me see.
I see. Well, if you have any questions, please pop them in. When she's taking a look, please pop them into the chat. And while she's looking, I want to talk about something else. I'll let you look. And then there's something else I wanted to cover. And that is, because I think it's so difficult, it's the ask. How do you ask? And I think this is for personally, professionally, you know, with our friends, with our families. I think sometimes it's really difficult for women to ask for what they want. So this can be a really powerful practice. And you can start with something super small. Actually, I think it's really hard. It's really hard for my sweetie. We have something called, his last name is Sacklos, and we call it Sacklos speak. So he lots of times won't ask me for something directly. He'll say something and I say, oh, is that Sacklos speak for you really just want to watch TV tonight by yourself?
I'm married to that guy too.
Yes. And so he's like, yes. And I'm like, and we actually practice this. And I said, okay, we've been together almost 18 years, we figure. I say, well, I'm wondering if you can say that to me in a more direct manner, you know, just totally open and having it be really safe, right? Because I know we already know what he wants. And so he'll say, you know, would you mind if I just watch my shows by myself tonight? And I always give him the positive response, even if I want to watch TV that night, because he's done it, so I would never say, you know what, no. In the beginning, I wouldn't say, no, I really want to watch my shows tonight, right? So just in terms of that positive reinforcement. So when you're first practicing this with another person, you want them to say, of course, could I have another slice of cake? Even if it start with something simple, because sometimes that's like, oh my God, we really want that second slice of cake and but we don't know if somebody else wants it. And, so they're even in that kind of situation, does anybody else want this last piece of cake? Because I want it so bad. But if somebody else wants it, I will split it with you. Right? So we can start with a small ask, something simple that doesn't have, great implications for us or really.
Yeah, like emotional attachment to it or something.
Yeah, like not a big emotional attachment. But I think that starting to practice the ask in any kind of situation is really super important and then start to build up to the harder ask, whether it's in a relationship or work, right? Yeah. So I would love to know if somebody would like to, have Cate and I or something practice like a scenario or something. If you're willing, Cate, I didn't want to.
That would be awesome to do like a workshop where we're like in a Zoom call with anybody interested where we could, I'd love that.
Yeah.
So with your course, True Shield, which I have not gone through Susan's course, but I have read her ebook, which is like a skeleton of the course, which I just love so much. And correct me if I get this wrong, but basically you license this for schools or community centers, big organizations, and then they take your curriculum and actually teach it. Is that correct?
Yes. So it's a 6-hour course for girls. The one for women is going to be 8 hours. 6 hours course for girls, and it's all of the materials from A to Z. What you say, what the girls do. It's the 10 most difficult or dangerous situations that a girls 12 to 24 would be in, and it's 100% action role play. Even though I say it's verbal self-defense, it's also, there's physical aspects because we're always doing the grab. And by the way, so I had in the pilot, I had my sweetie who's 6'2" do the grab for the girls to show them, doesn't matter, and he's big, he's 200 pounds, 6'2". I said, no matter how hard he holds you, you're going to be able to get away. Here's how you do it. And they all were able to experience that. So just even having that experience, like a big guy. But anyway, schools, shelters, dojos, organizations have licensed it, and they can train as many facilitators and as many girls as they want for the license for the year. And so if anybody does want to bring that into their community or teach it themselves, if you're physically comfortable, because it is a lot of, mostly PE teachers are teaching it, or people who had experience, just some physical experience. A librarian isn't going to teach it.
Okay. Yeah.
But people who have experience, who are, just feel more yoga, whatever, more comfortable with your body. Yeah. So anyone can also take it and license it and train it in their community. So if your Boys and Girls Club or your Girls Inc. or Girl Scouts doesn't have it, you could go and then train it to all those organizations or your school as well. So it's very open-ended that way. And then the girls model, the women's model is going to be a little bit different. So it'll be women who are speakers in corporations will license it. So if anybody's interested in that and you want to talk to me about that, that's almost done. So that will be available. And I'm going to turn them both into online courses too, because of the environment.
I'm so glad to hear that.
But for the meantime, I'm going to turn them into online courses.
Excellent. Yeah. That is wonderful. I think that's definitely a need that is out there. And for like a homeschool mom like me to have access to an online course like that would be really wonderful.
Oh, good. That's great to know.
Yeah. So if anybody is interested in Susan's True Shield course, that is for the bigger organizations, I will put my affiliate link below in the comments of this video. And of course, you can reach out to Susan or I for any more information on that. And this has just been so delightful, and I've learned so much just in this short conversation. Anybody watching this live or on the replay, I really encourage you to have your friends and daughters watch this. This is the kind of education that we need to be empowering ourselves with. We need to start being assertive and start learning these things. And just from the couple of physical moves that Susan has taught us today, that's just amazing right there. Like, I can't wait to go ask my husband to grab my wrist and see what I can do. So, and then the verbal self-defense too is just, I really feel like that's a great foundation in growing our assertiveness so that we become the warrior women that we want to be. Susan, I look forward to working with you some more, and I hope we can do something like a Zoom
Thank you
workshop.
so much, and thank you all of you are here, and thank Nancy Jutton specifically. She's such a champion. I really
Yes, thank you, Nancy.
you.
And for anybody else, somehow the technology I'm using here, I'm not seeing your names. I will have that fixed before I do another one of these.
Yeah, so thank you. I see the anonymous Facebook users. Thank you. And anyone else who can't see on this technology. We're both sort of new to this technology, so thanks for being patient with us on it.
Absolutely. Yeah, we really appreciate it. And
thank you for inviting me, Cate, and thank you for your wonderful series. I hope people come to the rest of your series as well. It sounds like you're going to have some other great, you're going to have, I was going to say other great guests, but that means that I was bragging about myself.
You are a great guest, no doubt about that.
And I have a whole thing about how to brag without bragging about yourself, but it shouldn't include that. So, but you're having some really wonderful women on. So
I am. Yeah. Next week, we're going to have Lisa Fanos on here, who is a mentor of mine in the personal protection. I think the following week, we're actually going to have my daughter, Brittany, who is a very successful career woman. And she is one of the ones that kind of pushed me in the direction of personal protection. And I just have a really great lineup coming up, and I'm excited about it. And Susan, just thank you so much. This has been delightful getting to know you, and I hope to see you again really soon.
Me too. Thanks so much, everybody. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.